Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Book Lover, and this is Book Talk, Episode 9. And these are a series that I created to where I talk about the last three books that I've read. These are the books in the Land of Oz. This is part 2, and let's talk about these books. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Book Lover. I like to read books, I like to collect books, and I like to talk about books. So I just started to make a booktube channel. And in these videos, I like to talk about the last three books that I've read. And of course, these are all books set in the Land of Oz. Two of the books I'm going to talk about come from this book. And I got another book here as well. And I'm going to talk about them in a couple seconds. But before I do that, I want to thank everybody for coming by. You're wonderful for being here, in my opinion. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate your view. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, the first book I'm going to talk about is a book that was written in 1908, written by L. Frank Baum, and this is Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. And let me give you my summary of this book, okay? Here's my summary. A train arrives from Frisco at Hudson Siding, and Dorothy is on the train, and she is headed to Hudson's Ranch to meet Uncle Henry with her kitten Eureka. She is soon met by Zebediah, or Zeb. In this book, he's mostly called Zeb, and his horse Bill. And they start heading toward the ranch, but then an earthquake happens, and a hole in the ground opens up, and Dorothy, Eureka, Zeb, and Bill fall into the hole. And they wind up falling for a long period of time. First they're afraid they're going to die, but they wind up falling for a while. They don't get hurt. And they fall until they land into the city of Glass City. And at Glass City, Bill and Eureka can talk, and they're actually pretty cool characters, especially Eureka. She's a very cool character. I like this kitten a lot. And not long, they run into the Wizard of Oz, and they also run into the Magaboos of Vegetable Kingdom. And the Magaboo people want to keep them there, but they wind up escaping through the Black Pit. So they escape through this Black Pit, and next they wind up in the Valley of Voe, where people become invisible by eating damas. And they are directed to the Pyramid Mountain by the people of Voe, and they land in the Land of Nod, where the Gorgals live. So they are off to the Land of Nod, where Gorgals are. And on the way, they run into invisible bears on the way, and it's pretty terrifying to be chased by these bears. But they get through the bears, and they run into the Gorgals, which are not Gorgals like you would think, like the statues that are on churches and stuff, and Notre Dame. These are more like wooden flying things that come flying at you. And they get attacked by these wooden gargoyles, and they escape. And after they escape, they wind up running into some dragonettes, which are these young dragons that want to eat them, but they're kind of not allowed to eat them. So they have some conversations, and they talk their way out of the dragonettes, and then they find Ozma. And not long after finding Ozma, we have a couple other things that happen. I'm not going to give you the details of everything that happens in this, but they run into Ozma, and then pretty soon there's a finale. And the finale has a lot to do with Eureka. Eureka actually gets blamed for doing something. And who knows? Maybe she did it, maybe she didn't. But she gets accused of something, and they kind of have like a court hearing on her. And it's pretty interesting. I had a lot of fun with it. This was a great book. I enjoyed this quite a bit. This was a fun read. I enjoyed it. I will definitely read it again. It's great. It's just as good as the other three books I've read in the Land of Oz, and I love it. Fantastic. So that is Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and I highly recommend that. It's a very good book. Now, the next up is a a book written in 1909. And this was written by Alfred Baum as well. And this is The Road to Oz. And let me give you the summary of this book of what happens. Okay. So Dorothy is in Kansas this time with Toto. Toto is back. And she meets a Shaggy Man. And they're hanging out together for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, all these roads appear. And when these roads appear, they try to find, she wants to find her way back home. So they pick a road and they pick the wrong one, and pretty soon they're far away from the farm on Kansas. And she winds up spending some time with the Shaggy Man. And not long after, we find out that this man has the love magnet with him. And by him having this love magnet, he's liked by everybody. Then pretty soon we meet this character called Button Bright. This is a young boy, younger than Dorothy, and they befriend this kid. Although this kid's not very bright, he really doesn't know anything. But they meet him, he joins them on the journey, and they continue on, and they go to Foxville, and they meet the king of the foxes, that is King Dox, and he winds up putting a spell on Button Bright. I'm not going to tell you what the spell is, but they put a spell on him, and Button Bright really doesn't like the spell. I wouldn't like it neither, I don't think. But they put the spell on him, and it turns out the only way they could reverse this spell is if they find the Truth Pond. So they're on their way to find the Truth Pond. And then pretty soon we meet the daughter of the rainbow. Her name is Polychrome. And she's like a princess, and she likes to dance, and so she's a dancing princess. And she's a pretty interesting character. She's she's dancing around as they're going along, and she joins them on their journey. And then we get to the Donkey Town, and that is ran by King Kikabray. And King Kikabray puts a spell on the Shaggy Man, and the Shaggy Man doesn't like this as well. Now, you'll know what it is if you read this book, but I'm not going to give it away, but there's a spell that's put on him. So now they're on a quest to find the Truth Pond so they can change it back. On the way, they meet Allegro di Capo, and that is the musicer. Now, the musicer is a person that just can't help creating music, and they get annoyed with him. And the thing about it is, the musicer wants to go to this party because we find out that the fox wants to go to this party, and King Kikabray wants to go to this party as well. There's a party for Ozma in Oz that's up and coming. And the musicer wants to go. They tell him he's going to go, but they really don't want him to go because he can't stop making music. Okay, then we go a little bit further, and then we meet the Scootalers. Now, the Scootalers are these people that have two heads. They have two faces. They have a face in the front and a face in the back. One's a dark face and one's a light face. And these Scootalers want to turn Polychrome, they want to turn the Shaggy Man, and they want to Button Bright all into soup. And they soon go in after them, and they want to turn them into soup. And they have a talent of being able to throw their heads at you. And it's a pretty good, interesting journey getting away from these people. These people are going after them, and it's weird on how they could approach you from both ways. I mean, their feet are like sideways, and they could go forward or backwards. It doesn't matter. You can't get behind these people, that's for sure. So they wind up escaping from the Scootalers, and they meet a character called Johnny Do-It, and he builds them a sandboat. And they go to Oz on the sandboat and find the Truth Pond. Then we run into a bunch of old characters that we know. We run into Tick-Tock, Billina, the chicken. We run into the Tin Woodman, the Jack Pumpkinhead. We run into the Cowardly Lion, and a whole bunch of other characters. The Scarecrow. And even at this party, we've got Santa and the Gingerbread Man. And pretty much the finale of this book is this party. And we wind up going to this party, and this is a grand party, and they have a good time at this party. And that's about the end of this story. And I enjoyed this book as well. This was a very fun book. This one I didn't like as much as the others, but still, I had a good time reading this book. Some interesting characters here, and I enjoyed this. And I would not tell you not to read it. This one I would recommend also. The Road to Oz is the second book that I'm talking about here. And now we're going to go to the third book. Now, the third book is not written by Frank L. Baum. This one was written in 1989, and this was written by Roger S. Baum. And this one is Dorothy of Oz. And I have the physical copy right here. And let me give you a summary of this book. There's the picture. Okay. So, Galinda arrives in Kansas on a rainbow to let Dorothy know that the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion are in trouble. And then she gives Dorothy the silver slippers that can be used twice. So Dorothy and Toto go back to Oz. When they go back to Oz, they arrive at Candy County. And while they're there, there's a sign that tells them not to pick the candy, but they wind up picking some forbidden lollipops. And soon they get arrested by the Candy Apple Sheriff, who takes them to the Royal Marshmallow King. And Dorothy helps the Marshmallow King, and he's happy with Dorothy, so he decides to let her go. And then he guides them to Galette's palace to help in finding her friends. So as she gets near Galette's palace, Dorothy meets a jester, and she learns that he put a spell on the entire palace, with her 3 friends included, with the wand of the Wicked Witch of the West. Dorothy talks to this jester, and he's about to put a spell on her, but she has a conversation with the jester, and she makes a deal with him. If her and her 3 friends can go and trick Galinda to coming back here so she could be part of this curse, and he agrees with the idea, and pretty soon her, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Woodman, and the Scarecrow go on this journey, although Toto is left behind under this enchantment. So they go a little bit further, and they find out they got to go down the Munchkin River, so they have to build a boat. So they wind up finding these talking trees and building a boat from these talking trees. They make a deal with them, and they actually agree to giving up just a part of their wood so they can go down this stream. And they make this boat, and his name is Tug. And this is a great character. I really enjoyed this character a lot. And he could talk, so we meet him, and he takes them down the Munchkin River to find Galinda in the south. Pretty soon they're going down the river. They wind up making a pit stop, and they get stuck in a maze controlled by the gamekeeper. And he keeps them there for about 3 days. And they have to escape this maze, and they have a difficult time getting out of this maze, but they finally wind up continuing on their journey. Then they wind up in a dark cave filled with fire-breathing dragons. And they wind up talking to the dragons, and they convince the dragons to let them go without getting set on fire. And they actually make a promise that they'll come back and find a better place for the fire-breathing dragons. So they like the deal, and they continue on the way. Then Dorothy goes to Munchkinland, and then she sees that the yellow brick road is having problems, so her and her friends, they fix the yellow brick road. I'm not going to tell you how. I'm going to leave it up to you to read the story, but they fix the yellow brick road, and then after that we come to the finale of the story and the events that lead up to it. And I'm not going to give that away. I don't give away the finales, but the finale was pretty great. The Jester was a great character. I really enjoyed being with Dorothy again. And the amazing thing is that the person that wrote this book did a fantastic job. And another thing that was really great about this book is the artwork. Let me show you a picture of the dragons. Yeah, here's one of the dragons. And the rest of the artwork in this book is great too. And I really enjoyed it. And that's it. That's my episode of Book Talk. I want to thank everybody for being here. If you liked the video, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. It's like a gem for me. If you want to, please let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. I love the comments, and I answer all the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, can you please subscribe to the channel? I've got new content coming all the time, and I'm always trying to improve on the content that I make. I try to make this better. As a matter of fact, I filmed this episode twice because it was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. And also, so you know, beginning this year, this is the last video of the year, and the video before this one that I posted is an honorable mentions of my top 100 books, and that's a video of 12 of the books that didn't fit in my list of 100. But starting January 1st, I've got a list of my top 100 favorite books in 10 different videos. So every day in the beginning of the year, you could check out these books that I'm talking about. And if you're a person that likes to read a lot and you're looking for some good books to read, I highly recommend you check out those videos because I mention a lot of great books that you're going to love if you've never read them. And chances are, if you've read the books, you're going to agree with me. They're all fantastic books. So come and check that out. Also, come around in 25. I'm going to be still making videos because I really enjoy doing this. I'm Peter the Book Lover. I want to thank you for coming by, and I hope to see you in the next video.